I actually feel like this journey began a really long time ago. As a kid, I was always running, always climbing. I was just always on the move.
He's a mad critter, this one. Jason!
But as a young adult, I lost that spirit somewhere along the line. School, work, relationships, just life in general kept me pinned down. But in 2016, I moved to Sydney from my home in Adelaide and started working at Ancestry, and my world literally opened up. But for all the travel and popular hikes, I wanted something different. I wanted a challenge that was more authentic, more real, more personal. In 2020, COVID travel restrictions pushed me to explore that feeling further, and in May of that year, I set off on my first multi-day hike.
Got my first marker behind me. I can point to that. There you go.
Yeah, so it's been a long day. As expected, just tough with the bag.
My bag just fell off where I had it sitting. It's just up. So, lots of up. So yeah, didn't quite know how I'd pull up this morning. I was very sore last night. We have freeze-dried spaghetti bolognese.
Sneak around behind him. I've been walking for 2 hours and I haven't even done 5Ks yet. Also, my left hip has decided that it doesn't want to carry any more weight. So right now I have all the weight of the bag just on my shoulders. Oh, almost slipped. So for now it's walking in the dark in the rain on a road. It was a nice road until it was dark and I can't see anything anymore. I'm sure you can hear that. That's the sound of the rain. It's been falling heavily all night, so it's going to be another wet one today, I think. Ah, gosh. Losing my mind. So this little guy that you can see here on my shoe, that, my friends, is a leech. I now have bare feet, which are so pale, by the way. And I'm going to have to cross this barefoot, so... Do-do-do-do-do-do. So, challenging day. I have to climb up that with this pack. So I just had to take my bag off because I couldn't fit through that gap. So it's 7:30. It may as well be midnight. I didn't sleep all that well last night, not for any particular reason, but just tossed and turned. The Great North Walk was a brilliant first experience. It was a good amount of time, it was challenging, and I learnt a lot. After I completed the Great North Walk, I decided it was much more what I was looking for, but not quite there yet. So I began working on a new kind of challenge. With many of the long distance hikes still affected by bushfire damage, I decided to try and create my own route. Something that wasn't a marked trail, something that still covered a long distance, and something that would give me that next level of challenge and adventure that I was looking for. So building on what I had already done with the Great North Walk, I set out to join Newcastle with 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃. I mapped a route that started in 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 and went all the way down to Newcastle, and this became my second long distance walk. The track itself is completely horrible. But I'm very happy to say, at least from here, it looks like sand stretches all the way across. That's not a path. This is the second time I've walked on a track that I've entered from one side only to find it's ridiculously hard, and then found that it's closed on the other side, and that explains why it's so hard. Hey buddy. I hope you enjoy this beautiful, beautiful view. You're absolutely welcome. I just realised I have a tick on the back of my neck. I don't think I had even actually finished walking the 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 hike when the idea of Tasmania had popped into my head. Obviously, having completed the Great North Walk and mapping out and then completing most of the 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 walk, I'd begun thinking about what I would do next, and I was conscious that I wanted to, again, push the boundaries a little bit. I really wanted to do something outside of New South Wales, something that was going to be ideally different terrain, maybe different temperature, and I wanted to do something that would be really a lifelong memory. And so, actually going back to 2020, I had plans to do the overland track and do the Three Capes track. And of course, COVID ruined those plans. So they were already something that I felt I had missed out on. And that's what sort of was constant in my mind when I was thinking about this next walk. So I originally started looking into the Tasmanian Trail, which obviously goes from the north to the south of Tasmania. And that was actually the first template that I used for this activity. But I very quickly learned that it was very central in Tasmania and it didn't actually go to the Cradle Mountain National Park or Three Capes. And so that was pretty disappointing to discover straight away. And I decided that that wasn't going to work for me. You know, I liked the distance, of course, but if I was going to do a long distance walk across Tasmania, I really wanted it to include those two things. And of course, it was attractive to me to make my own route. You know, that's what I've started to do and that's what I enjoy. I do want to do some of the named trails around Australia. Of course, they're there for a reason and they're fantastic, but there's something special about creating your own route. And, you know, with this particular endeavour, it was a bit of both worlds, right? I created some of my own path, but I also walked on those named trails. And honestly, it was the best of both worlds. The planning for the Tasmanian Traverse, it stretched a long way back, longer back than I even realised, because of course I had plans for the Overland and Three Capes well before the Tasmanian Traverse came into being. So the pieces of this endeavour, as many as they were, they kind of started at all different points and it just all came together. And it really, really came together at the start of 2021. And that's when I really put a lot of energy into pulling this walk together. I reached out to sponsors, I shared my ideas and my thoughts around the walk in hiking groups, and I shared the idea with my family and people close to me. So it really became at the forefront of my mind. And obviously when it got there, it meant things started to take shape. It certainly wasn't easy making these plans. At the best of times, planning a walk across Tasmania in winter by yourself requires significant amount of logistical planning. But then you throw COVID into the mix and you can appreciate it gets pretty tricky. Surely by the fact you're watching this video, yep, it happened, I got it done. But you know, there were times, in fact, Melbourne was going through a bit of a COVID outbreak as I went through. You know, Sydney was having its cases. So there was risk constantly. And even going over there initially to drop off some gear, that was at risk too. So the sheer fact that I was able to pull off such a big endeavour in the middle of COVID, I'm extremely grateful for. So as part of the logistics for the Tasmanian Traverse, I actually flew over to Tasmania 2 weeks before the walk started and deposited bags of equipment in two primary locations, the first being in 𝗧𝗀𝘃𝗃𝗃 and the second at Cradle Mountain National Park at the Discovery Centre there. And the reason for that was that this walk was a multi-format walk. And what that means is I wasn't just walking with one big bag with all my equipment the whole time. With the distances I was doing and the time frame of this walk, that would have been just murder. And so I began the walk in Devonport with a running bag, something nice and light that would get me through that 90k starting point with not too much weight. And after using the running bag, I then switched to my trekking bag or my large hiking bag for the overland track. And once that was complete, I then switched to a mid-range bag, which allowed me to cover greater distances once again. I talk a little bit more about that in some of the videos, but that gives you an idea of why I call this a hybrid approach. In addition to the bags, I also posted 2 boxes of food to key locations throughout the trek. And so with all these elements in place and all the work that had gone into preparing this walk, I was finally ready to start the Tasmanian traverse. No one taught me how to capture moments or a story in photos and video. I've learned to do this my own way and in my own time. And best of all, I'm still learning. Good morning. It's day one. We're here. Unsurprisingly, early start today. Coming in on the ferry means we get in here at about 5:30, and they let us off in about 10 minutes, which will be 6:30. So spent this morning so far just obviously getting organised, packing my bags, trying to get moving after a late night. I was in bed nice and early, of course, but we were rolling around a lot in the water last night, so even just laying here in the bed I was tossing and turning, not not myself, just with the movement of the ship. So just trying to get everything moving, the legs, the brain, you know how it works. But we are here in Devonport, which means yeah, very soon I'm going to be getting off the ship and heading towards a bakery that's about 7 kilometers from here. So that's going to be my real food stop. I'm going to have something small now, but I don't want to weigh myself down. I just want to churn through those first 7 kilometers, and then I'll have something a bit more substantial. And then after that, I'm not sure that there's too much more. Obviously I've got some snacks with me today.
But yeah, as usual, if I come across anything along the way that I can buy a bite to eat, I'll certainly do that. Obviously, the closer I get to Cradle Mountain, and certainly within Cradle Mountain, I'm not going to come across much in the way of shops. So I'll take advantage of what I can when I can, and other than that, just try and get day one done. So it's about 44 k's today. It's not you know, humongous, and I say that just because I've got a small bag. I have a running bag with me today, which I'm sure you'll see at some point, which means, you know, a distance of 44 k's, it's not too bad. Certainly if I was carrying my big backpack and tried to do 40 k's or 40 k's plus, that would really hurt. But this should be pretty easy. It's essentially just like doing a marathon. I'm not going to be running the whole thing, obviously. One, because I'm really not that fit, and secondly because I don't want to sweat too much. Obviously with the cold weather here, I'm just conscious that if I sweat and my clothes get wet, that could present a bit of a challenge. So yeah, just going to take it relatively easily, just jog portions and then walk portions, just to sort of maintain a relatively easy pace. I have all day, so it shouldn't be a major rush today. But yeah, first stop will be that breakfast stop. So I'll leave it there for now, just because there's probably better things to be looking at than, you know, my cabin. But here we go for day one. So wish me luck.
Alright, well I'm officially underway, doing the first most important stop, of course, which is coffee. But I'm in Devonport. It's a chilly morning, but not too bad. And what is it? It's about 10 to 7 at the moment, so actually a little later than I would have wanted to get going, or I ideally wanted, but you know, we'll make it work. So yeah, I'll have a quick bite to eat now, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll head on to a bakery. It's about 7 k's from here, and that'll be a good sort of way to start the day. And yeah, I'll keep checking in as I go. I made a friend. We're gonna walk the whole track together. No, changed his mind. It's too long. So it's a nice early start this morning. It's 10 to 6. As you can see, it's pretty dark. I'm just leaving 𝗬𝘃𝗃 Park and making my way towards Cradle Mountain today.
which is pretty exciting. When I reach Cradle Mountain, my big hiking pack and all my gear is there, because essentially up to this point I've been somewhat making do with bits and pieces, because I wanted to make sure that I had all the stuff I really needed when I got to Cradle Mountain. So I'm really looking forward to getting there and getting on some proper warmer clothes and yeah, having all the gear that I would normally have. So it's about 40 k's again today. Feeling pretty good this morning, not too sore. So yeah, nothing to complain about yet. Yeah, just hoping I get some sunshine soon to warm up. It's pretty chilly. It's not too bad, but yeah, still pretty chilly. Lots of creatures running around in the night. Lots of little hoppy things bouncing across the road and yeah, that kind of thing. But yeah, so this is the start of day 2. And yeah, I'm gonna get walking and I'll check in a bit again in a little bit. Okay. Well, we're starting to get some colour into the day now. It's not too cold this morning still, which is good. I've done about 6-7 k's so far. But it's about another 9-10 k's to my breakfast stop this morning, and I'm starving. Look at this. Starting to get some misty mountains in the background there. Nice buzzing of the power lines. Chose a good spot to stop. So as you can see, I'm basically just walking along the road at this point. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to breakfast. I'm so hungry. It's going to be a very long 10 kilometers because yeah, my belly is going to be reminding me every step of the way. So, but yeah, good morning so far. Still feeling pretty good. The good thing about the breakfast stop being so far away is that by the time I do reach there and I can recharge, I'll already be like 16 k's into the day, which is awesome. So yeah, as I mentioned yesterday, it's important that I get to my endpoint today nice and early. I need to collect my bag there, and the staff go home at 5 o'clock, so, well, shut the office anyway. So I really need to make sure I get there in time so I can actually get my gear. So yeah, quick movement is the goal today. But yeah, so just more of this kind of road walking today, and then I hit Cradle Mountain and obviously everything changes. Alright, I'll probably check in next when I get to the breakfast stop, I reckon. And maybe after I've ravenously stuffed my face.
Nearly there. Maybe 2.5 k's to go, and then part 1 has come to an end. Alright, before I actually relax, which I really want to, and eat, as this is the last day that I'm wearing kind of the part 1 outfit, I thought I'd just talk you through some of the bits and pieces so you know what's got me over the 92 k's that led me here to Cradle Mountain today. So first things first, it's not actually in here because I'm using it to record, but all the recording that I'm doing is either on my mobile phone, which I'll show you in a second, or the DJI Pocket 2, DJI Pocket 2, which is quite good. It's got a little gimbal on it, which means when I record and move, it stays pretty still, which hopefully will be the end result when I put this video together. I also have my phone. I recently got this one, it's a Samsung S21. I usually have the Pixel phone. Anyone that's been following my Instagram for a while would know I usually use a Pixel phone. Pixel didn't put out a particularly good offering this year, so I made a switch over to Samsung, and the camera's been phenomenal. If you follow again Instagram and see some of the stories, there's one that I took today that'll go up at some stage today, which is obviously well after you'll see this video, but of a wombat that I'm zoomed in on, and when I zoom out, it just shows how incredible the zoom is. So. But takes great photos. So the DJI Pocket 2 and this guy, everything you see is from one of those two devices. You'll notice that it's also plugged in. Because of the fact that I'm using those two devices, I have headphones as well, and then obviously my Garmin watch, they all require power. So using them over 90 k's is going to use a bit of power, so I still needed a power pack. Even though I was pulling into accommodation at night these last couple of nights, I needed power through the day. So I've got a long cable here. It's going into my bag, and the power pack is in the bag. So each night when I got to the accommodation, I would charge that up, and that would get me through the days. Obviously sunglasses. I also have this little strap just so that they stay on my neck. I've damaged lots of sunglasses from leaning forward and they fall off or whatever the reason may be, so now I'm using a little strap, and that's been working really well so far. Water wise, varied a little bit. Obviously it's pretty cool here, so not going through as much water. Today I have my bladder. I put about 500 mils of water in that. I have another 500 ml water bottle here, and then I had this guy in my pocket too, which is another 500 litre bottle. And you can see that one's untouched. I normally leave one bottle like this or this one untouched, or if I've just got a small amount in the bladder, that one, as kind of an absolute backup reserve. So as long as I know that I've still got one of these, that brings me a bit of confidence. What else? My Garmin Fenix watch, I've had that for a few walks now. Fenix 6, absolutely critical for this kind of stuff. It helps you stay on track, it keeps track of where you're going. Very useful. So if you're not familiar with GPS watches, and you do like to get out and hike, I suggest you look into getting yourself one. It's saved me a couple times now already. I'm wearing just a running bag, as you've probably noticed, so not my typical hiking bag. And that was for a couple of reasons. Going 90 kilometers in 2 days, it's quite a big distance, and I didn't want to be carrying a large bag, so I opted for something a little bit smaller. I was originally going to carry the pack that I'll be using later in the trek, but due to logistics, getting it from one point to another, I couldn't have that at the start. So I opted for this bag, which was a little on the small side for what I was doing, but in the end it worked pretty well. Before I take it off, actually, I got some treats in here still. Some lollies, some Cliff Bar, gel bars, things like that, all from Cliff. Been going through those pretty steadily, and
I think you'll find that the longer I get into this hike, the more I'm going to start to take nutritional supplements like that, just because my body's going to need them. What else? All right, here we go. If I turn this guy around, a couple of things you'll notice. First aid kit. So even in this small bag, carrying some essentials. You know, I like to think that nothing's going to happen, but at the same time, I also plan for, you know, the worst. Whether it's just simple things like blisters or getting stuck out in the cold. There's one of the space blankets in there. I'm dropping things everywhere, but you know, some pretty basic stuff in here, band-aids, all that sort of stuff. I won't run you through that, but yeah, pretty simple. The things I dropped, a banana, and some other things of not real importance. Some more snacks. And just on the subject of snacks, and the reason that they're still here and there's still a banana, there were some points today where I got a little bit hungry, but as I often do with my walks, I sort of ration my food. So as I speak on the topic, there's still 2 cans of tuna here. Basically, I have them if I need them, but if I don't need them or if I think I can go without them, I will. And it just means that I have them later. You know, particularly when I'm walking in built-up areas, there might be shops that I'm planning on going to, and if they're closed, I need some food. So always want to have some kind of backup. This is just my little USB charger that I plug everything into at night. Again, given the amount of devices that I had with me, I needed to have some kind of charging solution. The power pack that I mentioned, just a small one. When I introduce you to my other power packs for the overland track, you'll see they're a bit bigger, but that was just a one-day pack basically. Some more cables, and then again, snacks. I got jerky, more Cliff blocks and Cliff gel, Cliff bars, basically just a supply of food in here. Underneath it all though is some dry socks, dry underwear in case I needed that, in case I got, you know, struck down with a bunch of rain. In saying that, I am wearing rain gear, which I'll show you in a second, but you know, you also sweat inside that. So just a little bit of light for attention on the back, which I can turn off now. And that's the bag. On me, a couple important things: waterproof pants, waterproof jacket, and inside the waterproof jacket is a warm liner as well, which you can probably see. This is kind of the lighter of my warmer clothes. I'm going to switch out to my really good warm stuff now for the next few days. But this was good because it means I can leave this behind, switch to my warmer stuff, and it got me through these first 2 days. So a little chilly at times, but nothing too dramatic. I've got gloves to keep my hands warm. And then if I take this off, I promise this is not just going to be a strip show. Underlay, so this is Wilderness Wear top, super warm. It's very similar to my favourite top, which I'll have for the next 7 days, but really warm. The other one I like has a hood, which I'll show you later. But this has basically been my outfit for the whole 2 days. It's just been compression top and compression tights under the rain pants, and then this warm underlayer under the jacket, and that's been perfect. I also have Wilderness Wear socks, which again I've mentioned in some of my posts have been super comfy. And then my 𝗧𝗀𝗃𝗃 running shoes as well. So again, shoes were another thing that I was changing out throughout the hike. So these running shoes will now stay, they've done their bit, and I'm going to switch out into my hiking boots. When I get to the end of Cradle Mountain, I need to decide whether I want to have the hiking boots, whether I want to stick with them, or switch to some Salomon kind of trail running shoes that I have. The challenge is that a lot of that sort of after Cradle Mountain and prior to 3 Capes, walking is going to be sort of roadside again. So I'm just not sure if I'd rather stay in the hiking boots or the other shoes. So I just have to figure that out at the time. Last thing I'll mention is this guy. This is a waterproof beanie. I also have waterproof gloves for later and waterproof socks. But basically this it keeps the rain away, but it keeps my head dry regardless, even if it rains. And really important that it's got this little lip on there, because when I have my hood on, I can clip it onto the front, and it means that there's no water falling into my face. I've had the mistake of wearing a beanie before and the water just falls on your face. This is really good. It's from a company called 𝗧𝗀𝘃𝗃. They do a whole bunch of waterproof stuff. So any brands that I do mention, I'll put some details in the notes or information area of the video. But that's essentially what got me here after these 2 days. And now I've got a big bag here waiting for me that's got all of my overland track gear that I'm going to switch out into. So Super excited about that because that gets me back to my comfort zone with all the bits and pieces that I normally have, including some super warm gear as well. So that was a lot longer than I meant for it to be, but I hope that was kind of informative anyway. All right, thanks.
And so here begins the overland track. If there was a point where I decided to turn around, I reckon I'm like 90-95% of the way there. Right now it's insane. Somehow I've picked the worst night maybe to camp out, so far anyway.